Facebook, and we text a lot. And I actually have a great uncle who's, God, I think he's 180, and he's on Facebook. I tried to get my grandmother on Facebook, but she wouldn't. All my grandparents are passed away now, but you know, she still uses the typewriter. My dad doesn't do any of this stuff. He'd rather. When I remember I talked to my grandmother. She passed away a couple of years ago. My paternal grandmother, but she was still, you know, she lived until she was like 96 or something like that, and so she was around when they got their first telephone and first TV and all that type of stuff. But she was still, you know, amazed at the technology of the telephone. I'd talk to her. She goes, "Wow, it's amazing. It's as if you're in the next room." It's like, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Just think if you could Skype, Grandma, Skype. But in any case, so there's a lot of folks out there who do have anxiety about computers generally, or about the technology generally, and that's something that needs to be studied. And I don't want to again stereotype, but a lot of them tend to be a little bit older, people who have not grown up with this. Actually, the term that some people use are silver surfers. I didn't make that up, but these are the older folks who surf on the web. And guess what they tend to look for? Usually information, medical information, because they go to the doctor and they have such and such they don't understand, or they're too scared to ask questions, and so they go to WebMD and can get bad advice. Also, one of the things about CMC that's a little bit different is that there's fewer nonverbal codes, and so basically on the bottom of page 87 it talks about how some researchers hold that nonverbal cues can contain as much as 60% of the interaction's information. Likewise, the off-the-cuff nature of instant messaging, SMS, and email does not reflect that carefully composed responses found in academic context, blah, blah, blah. A lot of this stuff is very, very academic. So basically all this stuff is sort of showcasing that people do have computer anxiety, and we need to have more studies about it because we don't know too much about it. There is another sort of cool term that you might not have heard of before, telephony, and that's basically, there's been some studies there, but basically the idea is if you have high communication apprehension, you'd rather talk to folks on the phone than face to face. So that's where, you know, going and breaking up again with a boyfriend or girlfriend on the phone instead of in person, or just having conversations with other people. If you have a conflict going on, sometimes you want to call somebody and chat instead of, you know, just meet for coffee or something like that. In short, we don't know a whole lot about communication apprehension as well as computer-mediated communication apprehension, and we need to have a lot more research, and that's what they're saying here. And long story short, there's some research from Pittsburgh on the top of page 89 that simply says that, and this is sort of no-brainer stuff to me, CMC users were found to be more likely to choose the CMC channels where they anticipated positive results from the channels used. Now I'll let you sort of read the rest of it, but so if we think using a certain CMC channel, whether it's Facebook, whether it's texting, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Tumblr, whether it's, you know, Vine, whether it's Instagram, and we think we're going to get positive results, then we use it. That's basically what's going on. Okay, I think CMCA, or Computer Mediated Communication Apprehension and Channel Selection, which is this next section on page 89, offered what I think is the most practical stuff here. And so basically what it says, generally speaking, the research shows that online communication can reduce anxiety for folks who have high apprehension, whether it be personal self-disclosure or relational self-disclosure, all that's tied to communication apprehension, because the level of apprehension we have determines how much we disclose or not disclose. So online tends to reduce anxiety. So folks who have high communication apprehension tend to form more online relationships. Some of them might have more online relationships than face-to-face relationships. In fact, the only friends I have are on Facebook, and all 400 of them are my closest friends. I used to have like 1,000, I think. I dropped a lot of them. Basically because I had to create this new college and personal stuff. In any case, high app folks like online communication more than face-to-face communication. If you're shy and you hate to talk to people face-to-face, CMC is easier, so they like it more. High app folks might actually fulfill a lot of the interpersonal needs they have online rather than face-to-face. Receiving validation for something, feeling as if they are part of a group, feeling as if they have friends in the first place. CMC is a good opportunity for high app folks. High app folks might or are likely to disclose more personal information online rather than face-to-face. So there's lots of information out there that says that particularly for folks who have high communication apprehension, CMC becomes a very good opportunity. And then there are a couple of explanations for this, and this is slide number 11. First, the authors argue that these mediated channels, whether it be Facebook or something else, might seem like a safer environment compared to face-to-face. And that in part is because there's fewer nonverbals. Depending on what you do or what you put on online, maybe people don't know what you look like, what you sound like, etc., etc., etc. So so you can sort of plan out what to say, and it doesn't have to be just back and forth where you have to sort of think on your feet. You can plan out absolutely everything. You can plan out what you want to show to others. Also, CMC limits the impact of damaging nonverbal cues or damaging face-to-face disconfirming messages. Disconfirming messages is just basically messages that disrespect you. You're bad. And oftentimes, when we're having some sort of conflict with somebody, I mean, we can get these, people look at us in a way that we go, and people tell us we're stupid. And that doesn't seem to hurt as bad, I guess, online. And folks don't perceive other folks as anxious in CMC. It's hard to tell. You can sort of tell face-to-face if folks are apprehensive about something. They will sort of look down, I don't want to talk to you. That's hard to perceive online. And then the top of page 90 has a lot of good stuff. I'll let you read it. But basically the idea here is that for folks who have high apprehension, CMC, for lots of different reasons, seems to be a pretty safe environment for them. The second explanation is this idea that we always tend to pick certain channels that's going to offer what we perceive as what we picked as our own self-perceived competence. That is, we use what we think we're good at, and we don't use the stuff we think we're bad at. That's basically it. And sometimes there's tension there because of those cultural norms, as I said. Sometimes you want to break up with somebody online, but that's not the cultural norm. But generally speaking, CMC becomes an opportunity because sometimes we're really good at conveying our ideas through CMC, but we're not so good at doing that online or on face-to-face. And that's the second sort of explanation. 12 here. The big conclusion, basically, shy folks like CMC. That's what I got out of all this stuff. That's sort of the idea. And the whole sort of buffering effect, that is making it a little bit easier, it's a two-way street, so it's not mutually exclusive. So the idea here is that CMC and your use of CMC can actually come back and impact how you do things face to face, because everything's sort of blended. So you can actually learn competence on CMC perhaps, and then take it back to face, and I think that's a really important big point. The parting shot. Never mind. I'm too shy and incompetent to offer them, and my wife just got home, and I get really apprehensive lecturing in front of her. So take care, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will be in touch, and please let me know if you need anything.